And I go, what the f was that? I look up, I get up, and I just, bam! And I had no idea, Dan, in all honesty, that bat was illegal.
George Brett's iconic pine tar meltdown is the image most people remember, but the real story goes much deeper. This Hall of Famer, who collected over 3,000 hits across 21 seasons with the Kansas City Royals, played with a fire that burned hotter than almost anyone else. And even today, at 72, there are 3 men he still hates for pushing him to his absolute limit. One was his own teammate, another was a vicious rival, and the third was a cunning manager who ambushed him at the worst possible moment. Let's start with the teammate who hurt him the most. Back in 1976, George Brett and Hal McRae were locked in a razor-thin battle for the batting title. McRae, who was black, held a tiny lead over Brett, who was white, going into the final day of the season. The margin between them was impossibly small, just 5/1000ths of a percentage point. McRae was hitting .33078, while Brett was at .33073. It all came down to one final game. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Brett came to the plate and hit what should have been a routine fly ball to left field. But something strange happened. Minnesota Twins outfielder Steve Bry somehow misplayed it. The ball dropped about 10 to 15 feet in front of him on the artificial turf and took a massive bounce over his head. Brett circled the bases for an inside-the-park home run that instantly gave him the batting title. His average jumped to .3333, while McRae, who batted right after and made an out, finished at .3320. What happened next shocked everyone. McRae immediately confronted the Twins' dugout, accusing manager Gene Mauch of deliberately orchestrating the defensive mistake. He publicly implied that racial bias motivated the opponents to favor Brett over him. In his anger, McRae declared that things were still the same in 1976 America, linking the perceived manipulation directly to racial politics in the United States. The accusation was explosive. McRae was saying that the white manager and white outfielder conspired to ensure the white player won the title over the black player. Both Mauch and Bry denied the conspiracy allegations completely. Bry insisted he simply messed up, saying he played too deep and misjudged the ball. Mauch defended his player fiercely, saying the suggestion hurt him worse than anything in his 35 years in baseball, and that he would never harm the integrity of the game. Even Brett himself acknowledged something felt wrong. He admitted he felt like he got a present from the Twins and felt just as bad about it as McRae did. Despite the controversy, the two teammates managed to preserve their friendship. McRae later noted that although the circumstances could have torn apart their relationship, it didn't. Brett agreed, saying they were great friends before, and that while McRae felt cheated that day, he was fine with it afterward. Still, McRae's accusation served as a painful public test of their bond and forced Brett to deal with an individual achievement that was forever tainted by serious allegations of racial unfairness. Think about the kind of rivalries that truly define a player's career. These weren't just battles on the field, they were personal wars that shaped legacies. Drop your thoughts in the comments below about which rivalry in baseball history cut the deepest, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the stories that made sports legends. The controversy with McRae was internal and emotional, but Brett's next great rivalry was pure physical violence. This brings us to the second man Brett hates, Yankees third baseman Graig Nettles. The Yankees and Royals faced each other in 4 American League Championship Series over 5 years from 1976 to 1980, creating one of baseball's most brutal rivalries. It had a David versus Goliath feel, with the emotional, aggressive Royals constantly battling the powerful Yankees dynasty. The 1977 playoffs were particularly charged. The aggressive tone was set early when Hal McRae executed a hard slide in Game 2 that nearly knocked Yankees second baseman Willie Randolph into left field during a double play attempt. This created an environment where physical confrontation felt inevitable, and in Game 5, the decisive game of the series, that confrontation finally exploded. In the bottom of the first inning, with McRae on base, Brett drove a pitch for a triple. As he slid into third base, he executed a hard, aggressive maneuver, using his forearm and momentum to shove Nettles away from the bag. Nettles, known for his slick defense and his hatred of the aggressive Royals, retaliated instantly. As Brett rose from his slide, Nettles stepped back and delivered a vicious kick directly to Brett's head. An enraged Brett immediately threw a haymaker punch at Nettles, and the confrontation escalated into a full-scale, bench-clearing brawl. The fight involved nearly every player from both teams, including Yankees pitcher Ron Guidry. What's remarkable is that despite the extreme violence, including a retaliatory kick to the head, no players were ejected from the contest. This absence of discipline demonstrates how intense physical aggression was often tolerated as part of the game's dramatic landscape in 1970s playoff baseball. In an unexpected moment of sportsmanship amid the chaos, Yankees captain Thurman Munson actually intervened to protect Brett. Munson placed his glove over Brett's head while he was in the pile, ensuring he avoided any cheap shots. Brett later recalled Munson saying he wouldn't let anybody hit him when he was down, cementing Munson as a figure of respect despite the deep rivalry between their teams. But Nettles wasn't done with Brett. His hatred ran deeper than just physical confrontation. 6 years later, he became the mastermind behind the most famous baseball controversy ever, working with the third man Brett hates, Yankees manager Billy Martin. On July 24, 1983 at Yankee Stadium, the Royals trailed the Yankees 4-3 in the top of the ninth inning, with 2 outs and a runner on first base. Brett came to the plate and delivered a dramatic, go-ahead, 2-run home run off Yankees closer Goose Gossage, seemingly giving the Royals a 5-4 lead. As Brett celebrated what appeared to be a game-winning hit, Martin, a notorious tactical manager, approached home plate umpire Tim McClelland. Martin requested an inspection of Brett's bat, claiming excessive use of pine tar, a sticky substance used to enhance grip. This challenge was highly calculated. It was based on a prior observation by Nettles, who had noticed the wide swath of pine tar on Brett's bat weeks earlier. Nettles had advised Martin to save this information for a crucial moment, resulting in a premeditated tactical ambush designed to inflict maximum emotional and competitive damage. The rule stated that any foreign substance, including pine tar, could not cover the bat handle more than 18 inches from the end. McClelland used the 17-inch width of home plate as a measuring standard and determined that the pine tar covered approximately 24 inches of the bat, a clear violation. Based on the rule that dictated a player who uses an illegally batted ball is out, the umpires nullified Brett's home run and called him out. As this was the third out in the ninth inning, the initial ruling declared the game over with a 4-3 Yankees victory. The call triggered one of baseball's most enduring images. An enraged George Brett charged McClelland, screaming wildly before being restrained by teammates and manager Dick Hauser. Brett was ejected for his outburst, and Royals pitcher Gaylord Perry was also tossed after attempting to steal the illegal bat as evidence. This highly volatile reaction cemented Brett's reputation, having an explosive temper on the field. But the Royals immediately filed an official protest. The confiscated bat was sent to American League President Lee MacPhail for a ruling. 4 days later, MacPhail issued a decision that fundamentally changed how baseball applies technical rules. He ruled that while Brett had undeniably violated the letter of the rule by using an illegal bat, the penalty of calling him out and nullifying the home run was improper. The rule's intention was to prevent the use of doctored bats to enhance distance, and excessive pine tar, while sticky, did not give such a competitive advantage, meaning it did not violate the spirit of the rule. MacPhail summarized his finding with a statement that became legendary. He said games should be won and lost on the field, not through technicalities of the rules. He upheld the protest and ordered the game to be resumed from the point of Brett's home run, with the Royals leading 5-4. This decision established a binding precedent for prioritizing competitive fairness over hyper-technical rule exploitation. Yankees owner George Steinbrenner immediately challenged the ruling by obtaining an injunction from the New York Supreme Court to prevent the game's resumption. However, the American League appealed, and the injunction was swiftly overturned by Justice Joseph Sullivan, who issued the famous one-line decision stating simply to play ball. The game was finally resumed 25 days later, on August 18th, and officially ended with the Royals winning 5-4. Martin staged a symbolic protest by placing pitcher Ron Guidry in center field and first baseman Don Mattingly at second base for the resumption. Home plate umpire Tim McClelland defended his original call, maintaining that he was obligated to enforce the rule precisely as written. He stated that umpires don't work on the spirit of the rules, they work on the letter of the law. McClelland believed that had he ignored the rule, Martin would have successfully protested, highlighting the difficult position umpires face when applying unclear regulations. MacPhail's ruling proved so significant that decades later, Major League Baseball formally amended the official rules in 2010 to reflect his interpretation. The rule now includes a clarifying comment stating that if no objection is raised prior to the bat's use, a violation of the pine tar limit does not nullify any action or play on the field. The pine tar incident remains the single most famous case study of rule conflict in baseball history, resulting in a fundamental legislative clarification that prevented the use of obscure technicalities as weapons in managerial warfare. So there you have it. The three men who defined George Brett's career through conflict. Billy Martin, the tactical mastermind who orchestrated the calculated ambush, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Greg Nettles, the physical and strategic rival who kicked Brett in the face during a playoff brawl, and then years later set up the pine tar trap that led to baseball's most famous meltdown. And Hal McRae, the teammate and friend, whose bitter public accusation of racial conspiracy tainted Brett's first batting title and forced him to carry the weight of an achievement forever shadowed by allegations of systemic unfairness. These three men pushed George Brett to his breaking point time and again, cementing his legacy not just as a Hall of Famer with incredible statistics, but as an explosive, fiery competitor who would do anything to win. His career was defined as much by these intense battles as by his 3 batting titles across 3 decades or his 1980 MVP award. The image of Brett charging the umpire in 1983 remains one of baseball's most iconic moments, a perfect snapshot of a player whose passion sometimes overwhelmed everything else. Which of these 3 rivals do you think was the worst? Was it Martin, the calculating strategist? Nettles, the brutal antagonist who evolved from physical violence to mental warfare? Or McRae, the internal conflict that cut deeper than any external enemy? Let us know what you think in the comments, and hit that subscribe button for more stories about baseball's most intense competitors and the rivalries that defined them.
Bat shatters, you have the barrel of the bat in your hands, and you throw it.
If I wanted to hit him with that bat, I would have hit him with that bat.
And you got to learn some moves of karate, and we were joking around with it. And then after the game, he calls me and he's like, I didn't know he was going to throw the bat at you. We didn't plan for that one, you know?
Mike Piazza is rightfully celebrated as the greatest offensive catcher in the history of baseball. His plaque in Cooperstown tells the story of a legend. He holds the record for most home runs by a catcher. He posted a career slash line that stands among the best. He earned 10 Silver Slugger awards. But his career was defined by more than just numbers. It was shaped by intense, personal, and unforgettable conflicts. One feud in particular was so intense that it led Piazza to declare about his rival, "I never respected him." This was just one of the on-field wars that defined his career. We're going to break down the 4 players Mike Piazza absolutely hates. The feud with Roger Clemens stands as the most infamous rivalry in modern baseball history. It didn't start with a beanball. It started with Piazza's bat. Clemens had built a career on power and intimidation. He was the ornery rocket. He used the inside fastball to antagonize batters and establish dominance. But Piazza systematically dismantled him. In just 22 career plate appearances against Clemens, Piazza boasted a batting average over 400, with 4 home runs and 10 runs batted in. This wasn't just success, it was humiliation. On June 6, 1999, in their first meeting as crosstown rivals, Piazza hit a double and a 2-run homer off Clemens at Yankee Stadium. A month later, on July 9th, he delivered a 3-run tie-breaking home run at Shea Stadium. The pattern of embarrassment continued. On June 9th, 2000, Piazza hit a towering grand slam to dead center field off Clemens. These were public embarrassments that left the Rocket humiliated and sparked media speculation that he was losing his stuff. Piazza's repeated success stripped Clemens of his aura of invincibility. His home runs were a direct assault on Roger Clemens's professional identity. This set the stage for retribution. Clemens publicly stated his intention to be more aggressive in his approach to the Mets catcher. On July 8, 2000,
during a Subway Series game at Yankee Stadium, that promise manifested in shocking violence. Clemens unleashed a fastball that struck Piazza directly in the batting helmet. The impact sent Piazza collapsing backward into the batter's box. He was diagnosed with a concussion. The injury forced him to miss that year's All-Star game. He walked off the field very gingerly and obviously groggy. Clemens insisted the pitch was unintentional. He reportedly attempted to call Piazza to apologize. Piazza unequivocally rejected the call. Instead, he held a press conference. His statement was direct and accusatory. He was unequivocal that Clemens had hit him in the head on purpose. He argued that a pitcher of Clemens's caliber possessed far too much command to claim butterfingers. While Piazza admitted in a strange way to finding it flattering that Clemens felt compelled to resort to such measures, he made it clear that he had lost all respect for Clemens because of it. He publicly agreed that Clemens's act was cowardly. He argued that if a pitcher wants to send a message, the unwritten rules dictate hitting a batter in the back or ribs, not in a way that threatens his livelihood. With that press conference, the athletic rivalry was officially transformed into a deeply personal and public feud. This feud was only getting started, and it was about to get much weirder. It makes you wonder, in today's game, would Clemens have been suspended for months? Let us know what you think the punishment should be in the comments. And if you're enjoying this look into baseball's biggest rivalries, make sure to hit that subscribe button. The simmering animosity boiled over on baseball's most luminous stage. Game 2 of the 2000 World Series, the first Subway Series since 1956. The matchup was already freighted with intense local significance, but the history between the two stars added a layer of personal intrigue that captivated the nation. In the top of the first inning, Piazza came to the plate to face Clemens for the first time since the July beating. On an inside fastball, Piazza's bat shattered upon contact. impact. The ball went foul. The barrel of the bat helicoptered toward the pitcher's mound. What happened next remains one of the most bizarre and debated moments in World Series history. Clemens fielded the jagged shard of maple. In a motion of pure aggression, he flung it in the direction of Piazza, who was running down the first base line. The splintered wood flew across Piazza's path, missing him by a matter of feet. Piazza, perplexed, stopped in his tracks. He turned and began walking toward the mound. He audibly asked Clemens, "What's your problem?" The confrontation led to both benches clearing. The scene was more one of confusion than outright brawling. Amid the chaos, Clemens offered the umpire an explanation that would become infamous for its absurdity. "I thought it was the ball." The excuse was met with immediate and universal skepticism. Television announcers on the live broadcast immediately identified it as a blatant act initiated entirely by Clemens. The logical fallacy of the explanation was glaring. Even if one were to grant the unlikely premise that a veteran pitcher could mistake a jagged piece of a bat for a baseball, throwing it at the batter running to first base makes no tactical sense. Clemens's action was not a calculated threat. It was a moment of pure, irrational rage, a psychological break on a national stage. The context was one of extreme pressure. The World Series, against a city rival, facing the one batter who had consistently dominated and humiliated him. The sudden event of the bat shard flying toward him appears to have triggered an unthinking, impulsive reaction. The sheer illogicality of throwing a sharp object at an opponent, risking injury, ejection, and suspension in the most important game of the year points away from premeditation.
The nonsensical excuse that followed was not a clever deception. It was the flustered, panicked response of a man who had momentarily lost control. This was not baseball strategy. It was an emotional eruption. Years of frustration and adrenaline momentarily overrode all rational thought. The incident became a defining moment not just for the rivalry, but for both players' legacies. For Piazza, it was a test of composure under the brightest lights. For Clemens, it became a stain on his reputation that no amount of strikeouts could erase. The moment transcended baseball. It became a cultural touchstone, replayed endlessly on highlight reels and dissected in sports bars across the country. The image of Clemens, wild-eyed, holding a piece of broken bat, became symbolic of a rivalry that had spiraled beyond the boundaries of normal competition. The World Series stage amplified everything. What might have been a forgettable spring training altercation became an indelible part of baseball lore. The pressure of the moment, the stakes of the game, and the history between the two men combined to create a perfect storm of tension that exploded in that bizarre first inning. In his memoir, Piazza expressed frustration that a physical fight never occurred to provide closure. He wrote that Clemens screwed up the script by babbling about the ball to the umpire instead of offering the proper invitation to a brawl, thereby sabotaging Piazza's opportunity for payback. After the bat-throwing incident, Major League Baseball levied a $50,000 fine for inappropriate conduct. The fine was nonetheless viewed by fans and media as a slap on the wrist. It crucially did not include an ejection or a suspension from the World Series. Clemens remained in the game, pitched 8 scoreless innings, and the Yankees went on to win the series in 5 games. With the official punishment seen as lacking, an intense media and fan pressure began to build. The narrative immediately shifted to the unwritten rules of baseball justice. Fans demanded that the Mets retaliate against Clemens at the first available opportunity. This expectation festered for nearly 2 years. The anticipation was so high that when Clemens' spot in the rotation did not line up for a start at Shea Stadium in 2001, Yankees manager Joe Torre was widely accused of hiding his pitcher to avoid the inevitable confrontation. The long-awaited moment finally arrived on June 15, 2002, during a regular season game at Shea Stadium. The Mets starter that day, Sean Estes, was thrust into the role of enforcer. In what became an anticlimactic yet symbolically necessary act, Estes threw his first pitch to Clemens behind the batter's back, a perfunctory nod to baseball's code of an eye for an eye. The pitch prompted immediate warnings to both benches from the home plate umpire, effectively ending any chance of further escalation. Many Mets fans were furious, feeling Estes had failed to deliver the direct, physical retribution they craved. The story had a bizarre, behind-the-scenes twist that diffused the tension long before the pitch was thrown. Reports later emerged that Estes and Clemens, through a network of mutual friends, had reached a tacit approval or understanding about the situation the night before the game. Clemens had essentially given Estes the green light to throw at him. What appeared to be an act of aggression was transformed into a piece of prearranged baseball theater. It wasn't a real fight. It was staged. arrived. The ultimate irony of the day came at the plate. After failing to hit Clemens with a pitch, Estes delivered a far more satisfying form of revenge. In the 5th inning, he hit a 2-run home run off Clemens, contributing decisively to an 8-0 Mets victory. Piazza added his own home run off Clemens later in the game, providing a fitting, scoreboard-driven conclusion to the long-simmering hostilities.
If the Clemens feud was a war, Piazza's beef with Pedro Martinez was a messy, far-ranging web of beef. This one started when they were teammates. The friction began because Pedro's brother Ramon was frustrated with Piazza's mediocre defensive skills behind the plate. According to Pedro's own book, the initial problems stemmed from Ramon's frustration with what he perceived as Piazza's mediocre defensive skills behind the plate. This critique of Piazza's catching became a point of contention within the clubhouse, with Pedro taking his brother's side. There was also a cultural and class divide. Piazza was viewed as the rich American kid, a stark contrast to the Martinez brothers, who had come from a humble background in the Dominican Republic to make their way in the majors. Pedro held a grudge, believing that Piazza had belittled him during contract discussions, seemingly in pursuit of a record-breaking deal for himself. For Pedro, an extremely loyal little brother who didn't forget a grudge, this perceived slight was a foundational element of their long-standing beef. The feeling was mutual. In his own book, Piazza acknowledged that he viewed the young Martinez as a little prick when he first joined the Dodgers, confirming the mutual dislike from the very beginning. After Martinez was traded from the Dodgers, the simmering tensions from their time as teammates escalated into an open, on-field rivalry. Once they became opponents, first in the National League and later in interleague play, their personal animosity frequently manifested between the lines. The conflict was characterized by a pattern of aggressive pitching, including beanballs, and consistent jawing in the media that kept the feud in the public eye. Adding another layer of personal attack to the rivalry, Martinez publicly insinuated that Piazza's powerful physique and offensive success might be the result of steroid use. This charge, though never substantiated, was a direct assault on Piazza's integrity and accomplishments, deepening the personal nature of their conflict. The steroid accusation stung Piazza particularly hard. It wasn't just an attack on his performance. It was an attempt to delegitimize everything he had worked for. In an era when performance-enhancing drugs were casting a shadow over baseball, Martinez's insinuation carried serious implications. Piazza had built his career on natural talent and relentless work ethic. The suggestion that his success was chemically engineered was a fundamental attack on his character. This made the feud personal in a way that transcended on-field competition. Unlike the clear cause and effect of the Clemens feud, the rivalry with Martinez was built on a foundation of intangibles. It was fueled by subjective assessments of character, defensive ability, and professional respect. There was no single iconic moment like the bat throw. Instead, it was a persistent, simmering conflict that played out over years through a series of smaller confrontations and public comments. The rivalry's long and winding path took a final, ironic turn in 2005 when Pedro Martinez signed with the New York Mets, making him and Piazza teammates once again. The move necessitated an awkward but professional coexistence. The long history of bad blood between the two Hall of Famers remained a notable undercurrent to their shared time in Queens. Both men were professionals. They managed to work together, but the tension never fully dissipated. It was always there, lurking beneath the surface of every interaction. Piazza was known for a calm and collected demeanor, but what happened when that finally broke? This brings us to Guillermo Mota. The conflict with Dodgers reliever Guillermo Mota simmered over 2 consecutive spring trainings. The history between the two began on March 28, 2002, when Mota hit Piazza in the hip with a pitch during an exhibition game. An inning later, as Piazza was leaving the field, he confronted Mota and grabbed him by the collar before players intervened. The feud reached its boiling point a year later, on March 12, 2003. With the Mets trailing 10-1, Piazza stepped to the plate against Mota. The first pitch was inside, visibly angering Piazza. The very next pitch from Mota drilled Piazza in the shoulder. This time, Piazza's temper exploded. He immediately dropped his bat and charged the mound with clear intent. What followed was a moment of infamy for Mota. Instead of standing his ground, he threw his glove at the charging Piazza. Then he turned and fled toward the Dodgers dugout. Mets manager Art Howe later described the scene by saying, "The guy ran like a scared rabbit when the man came after him." The incident sparked a wild bench-clearing scene, with Piazza's teammate Jeremy Burnitz chasing Mota into the dugout as other players tried to restrain the enraged Piazza. The confrontation did not end on the field. After the game, Piazza reportedly went to the
the Dodgers clubhouse in search of Mota, who had already left the ballpark. This incident reveals the raw anger that Piazza kept under his controlled exterior. These feuds were integral to his narrative. The Clemens War, born from Piazza's athletic dominance, which led to humiliation and violent retaliation. The Pedro beef, rooted in Piazza's mediocre defense and his own admission of dislike for the young Martinez. The Mota affair, which revealed his raw anger when his restraint finally broke. These conflicts, amplified by the relentless New York media, are what forged his legacy. They transformed him from a one-dimensional slugger into a complex, battle-tested icon. These on-field wars proved he was as tough as he was talented. His journey through these fires cemented his legacy, not only as the greatest hitting catcher of all time, but as a Hall of Famer defined by his resilience. What's your most vivid memory of these Mike Piazza feuds?
Let us know your thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Is that why you didn't get caught up in what transpired in the 90s, which is known as the steroid era?
My dad was always saying, hey, you're not going to be the biggest. You're not going to be the strongest. You're not going to be the fastest. Just don't let nobody outwork you.
6 names. 6 people Ken Griffey Jr. absolutely hates. On Club Shay Shay, Jr. sat down and named them all. These were not just rivals or opponents. These were people who made him sick. People who betrayed him. People who ruined the game he loved. Let me walk you through every single one and show you why Jr. could never forgive them. Ken Griffey Jr. was one of the cleanest superstars baseball ever had. He played during the worst era of cheating and scandal. While other players shot up steroids and chased money, Jr. stayed pure. He played for love. He played for family. He played the right way, but that meant watching bad people succeed. It meant seeing liars get rich. It meant feeling pain from childhood all the way through his career. The 6 people on his list represent everything Jr. stood against. They are his moral enemies. They are the villains in his story, and this is why he hates every single one of them. Understanding Jr.'s hate list means understanding who he was as a person. He was not someone who held grudges for no reason. He was not petty. He was not mean-spirited, but he had a code. He had values, and when people violated those values, he remembered. He kept score, and he never let it go. That is what makes this list so powerful. These are not casual dislikes. These are deep wounds. These are moral offenses. These are betrayals that cut to his core. The first 2 names belong together. They are George Steinbrenner and Billy Martin. Both were part of the New York Yankees. Both hurt Jr. when he was just a kid. Both created a grudge that lasted 30 years. This is where the hate began. This is where a 13-year-old boy learned that baseball could be cruel. The year was 1983. Jr. was only 13 years old. His dad, Ken Griffey Sr., played for the Yankees. Jr. would visit his father at the stadium before games. Other players brought their kids too. It was normal. Kids would run around the field. They would take ground balls. They would hang out in the dugout. For Jr., it was magical. He got to see his dad work. He got to be around professional baseball players. He got to dream about his own future in the game. He was living every kid's fantasy. But one day, everything changed for Jr. A security guard walked up to Griffey Sr. in the dugout. He delivered a message. The message came straight from George Steinbrenner. Steinbrenner did not want anyone in the dugout. That meant Jr. had to leave, right now. No exceptions. Griffey Sr. told his son to go, but before Jr. walked away, his dad pointed toward third base. Jr. looked over. There was Greg Nettles' son. He was taking ground balls on the field. He was playing freely. Nobody told him to leave. Nobody kicked him out. Jr. was stunned. Why could that kid stay but not him? Why was he the only one getting kicked out? It felt like discrimination. It felt like the Yankees thought his family was not good enough. It felt like pure disrespect. And it came from the top. George Steinbrenner made that rule. Steinbrenner was the owner. He controlled everything. He was known as the boss. He ran the Yankees like a dictator. He fired managers constantly. He demanded perfection. He ruled through fear and intimidation. And on that day, he humiliated a 13-year-old kid who just wanted to watch his dad play baseball. Think about what that does to a child. Jr. looked up to his father. He dreamed of playing in the big leagues someday, and the Yankees made him feel unwanted. They made him feel small. They made him feel like he did not belong. That kind of pain does not go away. It stays with you. It shapes how you see the world. And for Jr., it shaped how he saw the Yankees forever. Jr. never forgot that moment. It burned into his memory. It shaped how he saw the Yankees forever. Steinbrenner became the symbol of everything wrong with the organization. Arrogance, unfairness, cruelty. The Yankees acted like they were better than everyone else. They acted like they owned baseball. They acted like rules only applied to other people. And Jr. saw through all of it. He saw the ugliness beneath the pinstripes. He saw the darkness behind the success, and he wanted nothing to do with it. Jr. carried that pain into his professional career, and when he became a star, he made the Yankees pay for it, over and over again. Every time he stepped into Yankee Stadium, he remembered that day. He remembered being kicked out. He remembered watching another kid play while he was forced to leave, and it fueled him. It gave him power. It made him unstoppable. Throughout his career, the Yankees tried to sign Junior. They offered him big contracts. They promised him championships. They told him he could be the face of the franchise. But Junior always said no, every single time. He would never wear the pinstripes. He would never play for the organization that humiliated him. Money could not change his mind. Glory could not change his mind. Nothing could change his mind. The wound was too deep. Billy Martin was the second Yankee on the hate list. Martin was the manager. He was the enforcer. He was the guy who created the toxic environment that allowed Junior to get kicked out. Martin had a history of hating kids in the clubhouse. He thought they were loud and annoying. He wanted them gone. When Junior was only 11 years old, Martin sent someone to tell Griffey Sr. to keep his kids quiet. It was another act of aggression, another moment of disrespect. Billy Martin was a legendary player and manager, but he was also a mean drunk. He got into bar fights. He cursed out umpires. He punched his own players. He created chaos wherever he went. And when he managed the Yankees, he brought that toxic energy into the clubhouse. Kids were not welcome in Billy Martin's world. They disrupted his control. They reminded him that baseball was supposed to be fun, and Billy Martin did not believe in fun. He believed in winning at any cost. Together, Steinbrenner and Martin formed the foundation of Junior's hatred for the Yankees. Steinbrenner made the policy. Martin enforced it. Both treated the Griffey family like they were beneath them. Both created an environment of hostility and shame. Junior took it personally. He took it deeply, and he held that grudge for 3 decades. That grudge became fuel. In 1995, Junior faced the Yankees in the playoffs. It was the American League Division Series. The Yankees were favored to win. They had a powerful lineup. They had great pitching. They had all the advantages. But they did not have what Junior had. They did not have his motivation. They did not have his anger. They did not have his need for revenge. Junior destroyed them. He hit 5 home runs in the series. 5 home runs in 5 games. It was legendary. He carried the Mariners to victory. He drove in the winning run in Game 5. The Kingdom went crazy. Fans screamed until their voices were gone. And Junior rounded the bases with the biggest smile on his face. It was the ultimate revenge. He used his talent to embarrass the organization that embarrassed him as a child. He showed them that the kid they kicked out of the dugout had become the best player in baseball. He showed them that their cruelty had created their worst nightmare. A player who would never forget, a player who would never forgive. And when reporters asked him years later about his favorite memory at Yankee Stadium, he said it simply: leaving Yankee Stadium. That was his favorite memory, walking out, because he hated everything the place represented. The arrogance, the entitlement, the cruelty. It all came flooding back every time he was there. And the only good feeling he ever had in that building was the feeling of leaving it behind. People always wondered why Junior never signed with the Yankees. Sports writers called it a mystery. Analysts tried to figure it out, but it was never a mystery to Junior. It was simple. They disrespected him as a child, and he never forgot. That is the power of treating people badly. It comes back to haunt you. Steinbrenner could have had the greatest player of a generation, but his arrogance cost him. His cruelty cost him. And Junior made sure he paid the price on the biggest stage. The third name on the list is Alex Rodriguez, A-Rod. This one hurts in a different way. This was not childhood trauma. This was adult betrayal. This was watching someone you trusted become everything you despised. This was learning that even the people closest to you could sell out. Junior and A-Rod were supposed to be brothers. They were both #1 draft picks for the Seattle Mariners. Junior was drafted in 1987. A-Rod came in 1993. They were the future of the franchise. 2 generational talents playing together. They were going to build a dynasty. They were going to win championships. They had a bond. A-Rod looked up to Junior. Junior mentored him. They hung out together. They trained together. They talked about bringing a World Series to Seattle. Everything seemed perfect. Junior taught A-Rod how to handle fame. He showed him how to deal with media. He gave him advice on staying focused. He treated him like a little brother, and A-Rod soaked it all up. He learned from the best. He watched how Junior carried himself, how Junior never let success change him, how Junior always put the team first. It seemed like A-Rod was learning the right lessons. It seemed like he would follow in Junior's footsteps, but it was all fake. But then the money came, and everything fell apart. At the turn of the millennium, both players left Seattle. Junior went to the Cincinnati Reds. He said he left for family. His parents lived in Cincinnati. His kids needed stability. He wanted to be close to home. And here is the important part. Junior took less money to make it happen. He signed a deal worth $116 million over 9 years, but he could have made tens of millions more elsewhere. He left money on the table. He chose family over greed. He chose values over wealth. He chose what mattered over what paid. A-Rod did the opposite. He signed with the Texas Rangers for $252 million over 10 years. It was the biggest contract in baseball history at the time. It was pure greed. A-Rod chased the money. He chased fame. He chased status. He abandoned Seattle for a payday, and Junior saw it as betrayal. The contrast between them was brutal. Junior represented baseball at its best. He played for love. He played for family. He played with integrity. He took less money to stay true to his values. He walked away from fortune to be close to his parents. He showed the world that some things matter more than cash. A-Rod represented the era of douchery and money grabs. He played for himself. He played for cash. He played for attention. He took the biggest contract in history and left the city that loved him. He showed the world that nothing mattered more than his bank account. Fans in Seattle noticed the difference immediately. They respected Junior for his values. They understood why he left. They wished him well. But A-Rod? They hated A-Rod. They booed him every time he came back to town. They made signs calling him a traitor. They threw things at him. They screamed insults. The anger was real. The betrayal was deep, and Junior watched all of it happen. Junior felt vindicated in 2001. By then, A-Rod had become the most hated man in Seattle. Fans booed him every time he came back to town. Junior said he was relieved. He was no longer the most hated man. A-Rod had taken that title, and Junior felt like the truth was finally out. Everyone could see that A-Rod was the sellout. Everyone could see that Junior was honest. A-Rod's greed had exposed him as a fraud. The money grab had revealed his true character, and Seattle fans knew the difference between someone who left for family and someone who left for greed. But it got worse. Years later, A-Rod became involved in the steroid scandal. He admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs. He lied about it for years. He denied everything. He blamed others. He played the victim. And then the truth came out. He had been cheating the whole time. He cheated the game. He cheated his teammates. He cheated the fans. And for Junior, it was the final proof. A-Rod's pursuit of money and fame came with a total lack of integrity. He sold out in every way possible. He became everything Junior hated about modern baseball. Junior must have felt so much satisfaction watching A-Rod's downfall. All those years of people questioning Junior's decision to take less money. All those years of analysts saying A-Rod made the smart choice. All those years of watching A-Rod get praised for his numbers. And then the truth came out. The numbers were fake. The success was chemical. The legacy was contaminated. Junior had been right all along. Taking less money to maintain your integrity was the smart choice. Staying clean while others juiced was the right choice. Choosing values over fame was the only choice. And A-Rod proved it by destroying his own reputation through greed and cheating. The fourth and fifth names are Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa. These two are grouped together because they represent the same thing. Steroids, cheating, the destruction of competitive purity. Junior hated them for contaminating the game he loved. In the 1990s, Junior competed in the great home run race. He was chasing the all-time home run record. So were Bonds and Sosa. It was supposed to be a fair competition, the best players in the world battling for greatness. Fans watched every game. Sports shows tracked every home run. It was the most exciting time in baseball, but it was not fair because Bonds and Sosa were juicing. Junior stayed clean. He never used steroids. He never cheated. He played the game the right way, and because of that, he fell behind. Bonds hit 762 career home runs. Sosa hit 609. Junior hit 630. But Junior's numbers were real. Bonds and Sosa were frauds. Their records meant nothing. Their achievements were fake. Their legacies were contaminated. The hatred for Bonds runs especially deep. There is a story that Bonds visited Junior's house in Orlando. During that visit, Bonds allegedly told Junior he was about to start using steroids. He told him directly, face to face. Junior was shocked. He was disgusted, but he said nothing. He chose to stay silent. That silence was his protest. He refused to join the cheating. He refused to compromise his values, and he refused to speak out because of the unwritten code among players. Imagine being in that position. Your rival comes to your house. He looks you in the eye, and he tells you he is about to cheat. He tells you he is about to gain an unfair advantage. He tells you he is about to destroy the integrity of the competition. What do you do? Junior could have exposed him. He could have told the media. He could have blown the whistle, but he did not. Because there is a code. Players do not snitch on other players, even when those players are about to ruin the game. But inside, Junior was furious. He was competing on an uneven playing field. He was losing records to chemically enhanced rivals. He was watching the game get destroyed by greed and fraud. And Bonds was at the center of it all. Bonds was the most talented player of his generation, but he was also the most corrupt. He chose to cheat even though he was already great. He chose to destroy the integrity of the sport for personal glory. And Junior never forgave him for that. Bonds did not need steroids. He was already a Hall of Fame player before he started juicing. He already had multiple MVP awards. He was already considered one of the greatest players ever, but it was not enough for him. He wanted more. He wanted the home run record. He wanted to be remembered as the best ever, and he was willing to cheat to get there. That is what Junior hated most. The greed, the lack of respect for the game, the willingness to destroy something beautiful just for personal glory. Sammy Sosa was just as bad. Sosa's body transformation was cartoonish. He went from a lean player to a muscle-bound giant. It was obvious he was using something. Anyone with eyes could see it. His head got bigger, his muscles bulged, his power numbers exploded, and baseball did nothing about it. They let it happen. They encouraged it. Because home runs sold tickets. Steroids were good for business. And Sosa was hitting home runs like crazy. And then came the corked bat scandal. Sosa got caught using an illegal bat. It was another layer of cheating. Another sign that he had no respect for the rules. He tried to claim it was an accident. He said he used that bat for batting practice, but nobody believed him. He was a cheater, plain and simple. And the corked bat just confirmed what everyone already knew. Junior saw Bonds and Sosa as the collective shame of the steroid era. They degraded the sport. They made a mockery of the home run record. They turned competition into a chemical arms race. And Junior wanted no part of it. His hatred for them was rooted in ethics. It was rooted in disgust. It was rooted in the pain of watching cheaters win while he stayed clean. Every home run Bonds hit felt like a theft. Every record Sosa broke felt like a lie. And Junior had to watch it all happen. He had to smile for the cameras. He had to answer questions about the home run race. He had to pretend like it was all fair competition. But deep down, he knew the the truth, and it ate at him. When Junior was inducted into the Hall of Fame, he got in with 99.3% of the vote. It was one of the highest percentages ever. Meanwhile, Bonds and Sosa faced massive resistance. Many voters refused to vote for them because of steroids. The contrast was clear. Junior was celebrated as a clean legend. Bonds and Sosa were punished for their fraud. And for Junior, that was justice. The voters got it right. They understood the difference between real greatness and chemical greatness. They understood that Junior's 630 home runs meant more than Bonds' 762, because Junior's home runs were honest. The sixth and final name is Albert Belle. This one is different. Belle was not a cheater. He was not a greedy sellout. He was not an institutional enemy. Belle was just dangerous. He was volatile. He was aggressive, and he made Junior's life hell on the field. Albert Belle had one of the worst reputations in baseball. He was known for his explosive temper. He fought with opponents. He fought with teammates. He fought with reporters. One time he threw a baseball at a fan. Another time he destroyed a clubhouse. He was constantly on the edge of violence. He was a ticking time bomb. And when the Mariners played against him, Junior had to deal with that chaos constantly. There was an incident where Belle threw a pitch that nearly hit Junior. Junior was visibly upset. He knew Belle was reckless. He knew Belle played with anger and no control. It was not about competition. It was about danger. Belle's aggression put other players at risk, and Junior hated having to navigate that volatility. Every at-bat against Belle's team felt dangerous. Every game felt like it could explode into violence. That is not how baseball should be played, but Junior got his revenge. On May 5th, 1996, Belle hit a ball deep to center field. It looked like a home run. Everyone in the stadium thought it was gone. Belle started his home run trot. The crowd started cheering, but Junior had other plans. He timed his leap perfectly. He jumped at the wall in the kingdom. He reached over the fence, and he robbed Belle of the home run. It was one of the greatest catches in baseball history, and it was poetic justice. That moment defined their rivalry. Belle represented raw power and chaos. Junior represented grace and discipline. Belle played with rage. Junior played with joy. And in that moment, Junior showed that elegance could defeat aggression. Talent could defeat anger. Purity could defeat chaos. It was not just a great catch. It was a statement. It said that Junior's way of playing was better. It said that skill and grace would always beat rage and power. Junior's hatred for Belle was rooted in professional opposition. Belle was everything Junior was not. He was unstable. He was dangerous. He was toxic. And Junior wanted to neutralize him. Every time they faced each other, it was a battle of temperaments. And Junior won. Not just with that catch, but with his entire approach to the game. Junior loved baseball. Belle seemed to hate it. Junior smiled and laughed. Belle scowled and cursed. Junior made the game look easy. Belle made it look violent. And fans could see the difference. These six names tell a story. They tell the story of Ken Griffey Jr.'s values. They tell the story of his pain. They tell the story of his integrity. And when you look at them all together, you see something important. You see a man who refused to compromise. Steinbrenner and Martin hurt him as a child. They humiliated him. They created institutional cruelty. And Junior never forgot. He turned that pain into power. He used it to dominate the Yankees for years. He made them pay every chance he got. A-Rod betrayed him as an adult. He chose money over loyalty. He chose greed over integrity. And Junior saw it as a moral failure. He watched A-Rod become everything he despised. And when the steroid scandal broke, Junior knew he had been right all along. Bonds and Sosa contaminated the game. They cheated. They lied. They destroyed competitive purity. And Junior stayed clean as a silent protest. He competed against cheaters and refused to become one. That took incredible strength. Belle represented chaos. He played with anger and recklessness. And Junior defeated him with grace. He showed the world that talent beats rage every time. Each name on this list represents a violation of Junior's values. Each one stands for something he refused to become. Steinbrenner and Martin were arrogant and cruel. Junior was humble and kind. A-Rod was greedy and disloyal. Junior was principled and true. Bonds and Sosa were frauds and cheaters. Junior was honest and clean. Belle was volatile and dangerous. Junior was joyful and safe. Junior played for family. He played for love. He played clean. He played with joy. He never sold out. He never cheated. He never folded to baseball's dark side. And his hate list became a kind of moral compass. It showed the world what he stood against. It showed the world what he refused to accept. It showed the world who he really was. Think about how rare that is. Most people compromise. Most people give in. Most people take the easy path. But not Junior. He had chances to join the Yankees and make millions. He said no. He had chances to use steroids and break records. He said no. He had chances to chase money over family. He said no. Every time the world offered him a shortcut, he refused. Every time someone asked him to compromise his values, he walked away. That is why his legacy matters. That is why people still talk about him with reverence. That is why he got 99.3% of the Hall of Fame vote. Because he represented something pure in a dirty era. Because he stood for integrity when everyone else was selling out. Because he never blinked. Looking back at Junior's career now, we can see the full picture. We can see how special he really was. Not just because of his talent. Not just because of his smile. Not just because of his backward hat. But because of his character. Because of his values. Because of his refusal to compromise. He played in the steroid era and stayed clean. He could have made more money but chose family. He could have played for the Yankees but held his grudge. He could have been friends with cheaters but kept his distance. Every decision he made was guided by his moral code. Every choice reflected his values. Every action showed the world who he truly was. And that is why this hate list matters so much. It is not about being bitter. It is not about holding grudges. It is about standing for something. It is about drawing a line in the sand and saying, this is who I am and this is what I will not tolerate. Junior's hate list is his declaration of independence. It is his mission statement. It is his way of telling the world exactly what he believed in. When Junior named these 6 people on Club Shay Shay, he was not being petty. He was being honest. He was being authentic. He was showing the world that even legends have enemies. Even heroes have villains. Even the cleanest players in baseball history had people they could not stand. And that makes him more real, more human, more relatable. The beauty of Junior's story is that his enemies made him stronger. They did not break him. They built him. Steinbrenner and Martin created the fire that burned inside him every time he faced the Yankees. A-Rod showed him what happens when you choose money over integrity. Bonds and Sosa proved that cheating always catches up to you. Belle demonstrated that chaos loses to grace. Each villain taught Junior a lesson. Each enemy reinforced his values. Each person on his hate list made him more determined to do things the right way. And in the end, Junior won. Not just on the field, but in life. He got his Hall of Fame plaque. He got his legacy. He got his respect. And he got it all without compromising who he was, without selling his soul, without sacrificing his values. He won by being himself, by staying true, by never blinking. That is the real lesson of Ken Griffey Jr.'s hate list. It is not about hating people. It is about loving something so much that you refuse to let anyone destroy it. Junior loved baseball. He loved integrity. He loved his family. He loved doing things the right way. And when people threatened those things, he remembered. He kept score. He made them pay. What makes Junior different from other players is that he never wavered. Other players talked about integrity but gave in to temptation. Other players said family mattered but chased money. Other players claimed to love the game but destroyed it with cheating. Junior was different. He lived his values every single day. He made hard choices and stuck with them. He faced pressure and never cracked. Think about the pressure he was under during the steroid era. Everyone around him was getting bigger. Everyone was hitting more home runs. Everyone was breaking records. And Junior could have joined them. Nobody would have known. Nobody would have caught him. But he said no, because it was wrong. Because it went against everything he believed in. Because his integrity meant more than any record. That is why his hate for Bonds and Sosa runs so deep. They had a choice. They could have stayed clean. They could have competed fairly. But they chose the easy way. They chose chemicals over character. And Junior had to watch them pass him in the record books. He had to watch them get praised while he stayed pure. That kind of pain creates lasting hate. The same goes for A-Rod. Junior showed him the right way. He mentored him. He taught him how to handle success. And A-Rod threw it all away for money. That kind of betrayal cuts deep. That kind of disloyalty creates permanent enemies. Junior gave A-Rod everything, and A-Rod chose greed. And the Yankees? They created the foundation for everything. They taught young Junior that the world could be cruel. They showed him that power corrupts. They demonstrated that institutions care more about control than people. And Junior never forgot those lessons. He carried them his entire career. Years from now, when people look back on the steroid era, Junior will stand out. He will be remembered as the one who stayed clean, the one who did it right, the one who never compromised. And these 6 names will be remembered as the ones who failed, the ones who sold out, the ones who destroyed what Junior fought to protect. That is Junior's ultimate victory, not the home runs, not the gold gloves, not even the Hall of Fame induction. His ultimate victory is that he gets to sleep at night knowing he never cheated anyone. He never lied. He never betrayed his values. He stayed true from beginning to end, and nobody can ever take that away from him. The hate list is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength. It shows that Junior cared deeply about the right things. It shows that he held people accountable. It shows that he never forgot when someone violated his code. And in a world where everyone forgives and forgets, where scandals get swept under the rug, where cheaters get second chances, Junior's refusal to forgive is powerful. It is a statement that some things matter too much to forget. When kids today look at Junior's career, they see the smile. They see the backward hat. They see the incredible catches and the beautiful swing. But they should also see this. They should see a man who stood for something. A man who drew lines. A man who said no when everyone else said yes. That is what makes him a true legend. His hate for these 6 people is not a flaw. It is a feature. It is proof that he cared. It is proof that he paid attention. It is proof that when people did wrong, he remembered, and he made sure the world knew. That takes courage. That takes conviction. That takes character. In a sport full of scandal and compromise, Griffey never blinked. He held on to his values even when it cost him records. Even when it cost him money. Even when it cost him glory. He stayed true to himself, and that is why his legacy is untouchable. Nobody can take it away from him. Nobody can question it. Nobody can taint it with scandal or cheating or greed. These 6 names are not just people Junior hated. They are the people who defined what he loved. They are the villains in his story. And by standing against them, Junior became one of the few legends who never needed forgiveness. He has nothing to apologize for, nothing to explain, nothing to justify. His career speaks for itself. His integrity speaks for itself. His legacy speaks for itself. If you want more raw, honest stories like this, hit like, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Who do you think Griffey hated most?
1 ball, 1 strike, nobody on, 2 down. What a night here for this young left-hander. He needs 1 out. He's winding. He delivers. Swinging, hit him on the fist, popped up. Oliver coming on, Tavares out, Oliver there! No hitter! No hitter! No hitter!
John Candelaria, the Candyman, a name that once meant glory, a name that came to mean conflict. You know him from the title, a man who seemed to hate. But was he the villain, or was baseball the villain to him? That sweet nickname, the Candyman, hides a darker truth. One writer called him a royal pain in the butt, and he was. He was an all-star. He was a World Series champion. He threw a no-hitter, but somewhere along the way, this hero became something else. A man defined by turmoil, a man who burned bridges, a man at war with everyone around him. How does that happen? How does a champion become the enemy? Let's go back to the beginning. John Candelaria was born in Brooklyn in 1953. His father saw the talent early. When Candelaria was just 5 years old, his father told the family, "This kid really has it." At LaSalle Academy in Manhattan, Candelaria was a basketball legend. He was a dominant center. He led his team to a championship in 1971. He finished second in school history in rebounding, second only to a guy named Lou Alcindor. You might know him better as Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Candelaria was that good. He was selected to play for Puerto Rico in the 1972 Olympics. But Candelaria made a choice. He chose baseball. Why? Simple. He could be in the major leagues before he would even graduate college as a basketball player. It was the faster path to the pros. The Pittsburgh Pirates drafted him in the second round in 1972. Then came the negotiation. Pirates officials flew to Puerto Rico to sign him. They brought Roberto Clemente with them. Clemente was the team's biggest star. He was there to translate. The Pirates offered Candelaria $15,000, but Clemente pulled the young man aside. He spoke to him in Spanish. He told him to reject the offer. He said Candelaria was worth much more. Candelaria listened. The Pirates came back with $40,000. Clemente had taught him a lesson. Know your worth. Never let them disrespect you. That lesson would define his career. Candelaria tore through the minor leagues. By 1975, he was in AAA Charleston. He was dominant. He posted a 7-1 record with a 1.77 ERA. The Pirates called him up in June. He made his debut on June 8, 1975. His manager, Danny Murtaugh, was blown away. Murtaugh said Candelaria was going to be heard from for many years. He said he had never seen a pitcher with more talent at his age. Then came the playoffs. In his first postseason game, he started Game 3 of the NLCS against the Cincinnati Reds. He struck out 14 batters in 8 innings. Pete Rose hit a late home run to tie the game, but Candelaria had announced himself to the world. The next year, 1976, he was even better. He went 16-7. On August 9th, the Pirates held Candy Night. They handed out candy bars to the crowd. It was all for him. Candelaria responded by throwing a no-hitter against the Los Angeles Dodgers. The score was 2-0. Then came 1977. It was the best season of his career. He went 20-5. He led the National League with a 2.34 ERA. He pitched over 230 innings. He made the All-Star team. In just 3 years, the kid from Brooklyn had become one of the most dominant left-handed pitchers in baseball. Before we go any further, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button. This is the kind of story YouTube doesn't want you to hear. A story about a man who refused to play the game off the field. A man who fought back. And I want to know what you think. Do you remember John Candelaria as a hero or a villain? Drop your answer in the comments below. Let's keep going. By 1979, Candelaria was a key part of baseball history. The We Are Family Pirates. Led by Willie Pop Stargell, this team was beloved. Candelaria posted a solid 14-9 record during the regular season. In the playoffs, he proved himself again. He started Game 1 of the NLCS against the Reds. He battled through a painful shoulder. He pitched 7 innings of 2-run ball. The Pirates won in extra innings. In the World Series against the Baltimore Orioles, things started badly. He struggled in Game 3. He gave up 5 runs in 4 innings. The Pirates lost 8-4. The team fell behind 3-1. They were on the brink of elimination. Manager Chuck Tanner handed the ball to Candelaria for Game 6 in Baltimore. Candelaria was masterful. On the road with the season on the line, he was untouchable. He threw 6 shutout innings. He allowed just 2 runners to reach second base. He was lifted for a pinch hitter in the 7th, but his brilliant effort kept the Pirates alive. They won Game 6, then they won Game 7. They completed a dramatic comeback. They were World Series champions. Candelaria's clutch performance in Game 6 was the key. He was a champion. He was a hero. He delivered when it mattered most. But the euphoria did not last. The We Are Family magic vanished fast. The Pirates began a swift and painful decline. In 1980, the aging team fell apart. Veteran pitchers, including Candelaria, finished with losing records. Candelaria went 11-14. Then came 1981. On May 10th, Candelaria felt something give in his arm. He was pitching in a cold, wet game in St. Louis. The injury was diagnosed as a torn biceps tendon. It destroyed his season. In just 2 years, the Pirates went from World Series favorites to a team expected to finish last. This fall from glory created frustration. It set the stage for the most turbulent period of Candelaria's career. But before we talk about what he did, we need to talk about what happened to him. On Christmas morning 1984, an unimaginable horror struck his family. His 18-month-old son, John Jr., fell into the family pool in Sarasota, Florida. The boy spent 5 weeks in intensive care. Then he was moved to home care. He needed nursing 24 hours a day. He remained in a coma for 11 months. On November 14, 1985, John Jr. passed away in a Pittsburgh hospital. Throughout the entire 1985 baseball season, Candelaria was living with this. His son was in a coma. His family was shattered. He was carrying a weight few can imagine. This is the context. His actions during this time cannot be separated from the pain of a father watching his child die. The tensions with the Pirates exploded in 1985. The team was struggling. The bullpen was a disaster. Manager Chuck Tanner made a decision. He moved Candelaria from the starting rotation to closer. Candelaria hated it. He saw himself as a starter. He valued the routine. He viewed the move as a demotion. He saw it as disrespect. His response was open rebellion. During batting practice, he would stand on first base. He would sing the lyrics, "Please release me, let me go." He launched a public campaign against general manager Harding Peterson. He repeatedly called Peterson a bozo. He put a "No Bozos" bumper sticker on his locker. It was a constant, visible taunt. The conflict escalated. After the team had to wait for a commercial flight instead of a charter, Candelaria complained to the media. He said the owners treated their racehorses better than their baseball players. The situation grew so toxic that Peterson reportedly challenged Candelaria to a physical fight. But here is what you need to know. Peterson was also grieving. His wife had died unexpectedly. He was in personal turmoil, and Candelaria attacked him anyway. He called him a bozo over and over in public. Was Candelaria a man in pain? Yes. Was he a father drowning in grief? Yes, but he was also selfish. He lashed out at another grieving person. He seized control of his professional life the only way he knew how, by burning it to the ground. He made it impossible for the Pirates to keep him. The relationship was shattered. The Pirates had no choice. They had to trade him. On August 2nd, 1985, the Pittsburgh Pirates cleaned house. They traded 3 veterans to the California Angels: Candelaria, disgruntled outfielder George Hendrick, and pitcher Al Holland. In return, the Pirates received younger players aimed at a rebuild. They got outfielder Mike Brown. They got left-handed reliever Pat Clemens. 2 weeks later, the Angels sent another young left-handed pitcher, Bob Kipper, to Pittsburgh. He was the player to be named later. The deal was complete. Candelaria didn't hate those players. Mike Brown, Pat Clemens, Bob Kipper, but his actions swapped his veteran presence for their youth. His hate for management forced the trade. A change of scenery saved him. California Angels made him a starter again. The move worked. He was energized. He pitched superbly down the stretch in 1985. He went 7-3. His resurgence continued in 1986. He was magnificent. He went 10-2 with a 2.55 ERA. His performance helped the Angels win the American League West Division title. The Sporting News named him the 1986 American League Comeback Player of the Year. The Candyman had found his form. He had emerged from the darkness. But was he a different man? No. While he was rebuilding his career on the field, something else was happening off it. This would reveal who he really was. The context was Lisa Nihus Saxon. She was a beat writer for the Daily News of Los Angeles. She was one of the first women to cover a Major League Baseball team full-time. She endured relentless abuse. One of her chief antagonists was Reggie Jackson, the Angels superstar, the future Hall of Famer. According to Saxon, Jackson subjected her to a horrific campaign of harassment. He would scream at her. He would call her ugly. He would make crude sexual suggestions. He would refuse to conduct interviews with his pants on. The abuse was severe. The Los Angeles Times published a story detailing Jackson's mistreatment of Saxon. When Saxon rejoined the team on the road, she got a phone call. It was from George Hendrick. Hendrick was Candelaria's close friend. He was the other disgruntled player from the Pirates trade. Hendrick warned Saxon that Jackson was on the warpath. He insisted she come to their room. In that hotel room, the two veterans made a promise. "Lisa, from here on in, you're not fighting alone. To get to you, Reggie's going to have to come through us. We're tired of watching it." Later that night at the ballpark, Jackson came after Saxon. He was furious about the article. He started screaming at her. Candelaria and Hendrick intervened immediately. The two tall, intimidating figures stepped between Jackson and Saxon. They formed a human shield. They repeated their promise. "To get to her, you're going to have to go through us." Jackson was incensed. He punched a wall with his fist. He injured his hand. It impacted his performance in the playoffs that year. Confronting a teammate of Jackson's stature was a serious breach of the clubhouse code. It carried significant risk, but Candelaria and Hendrick took that risk anyway. So here's the question. Was Candelaria Candelaria a hero? Or was he just Candelaria, a man who loved to fight, combustible personality, a hothead who happened to be on the right side this time? He fought management in Pittsburgh when he felt disrespected. Now he fought a superstar teammate when he saw injustice. Was it principle? Or was it just his nature? To burn bridges, to pick fights, to never back down. After the Angels, Candelaria became a journeyman. In September 1987, the Angels traded him to the New York Mets. He signed with the New York Yankees, the team he grew up rooting for in Brooklyn. He pitched in the Bronx for 1988 and 1989. He continued with stops in Montreal, Minnesota, and Toronto. He finished with the Los Angeles Dodgers from 1991 to 1992. This period highlighted his longevity. Teams still valued his veteran arm. Then came the final act. In December 1992, Candelaria signed a contract. He was returning to the Pittsburgh Pirates for the 1993 season. He was back in the city where he became a star, where he won a World Series. His last appearance in a Major League game came on July 7, 1993. He was wearing the same Pirates uniform he first put on 18 years earlier, but his return was not to a powerhouse. The 1993 season marked the beginning of 20 consecutive losing seasons, an infamous record in North American professional sports. Candelaria became the only member of the 1979 World Series championship team to also play for the Pirates during their descent into futility. His final season made him the living link between two eras. For fans who remembered the We Are Family celebrations of 1979, seeing the Candyman on the mound in 1993 was bittersweet. He was the ghost of past glory. He was the grim reality of the present. He was a constant reminder of what the team once was, and the vast chasm between that triumphant past and the long, painful decline. So what is the legacy of John Candelaria? It is complicated. He won 177 games. He posted a 3.33 ERA. He played for 19 seasons. But his story is more than statistics. It includes the bitter bozo feud in Pittsburgh, the profound grief that fueled it, the unwavering principle he showed defending Lisa Nihu Saxon. He was a man of immense talent and immense complexity. His career is a reminder of how personal tragedy can alter a professional trajectory. The combustible figure who forced his way out of Pittsburgh was carrying the weight of a dying child. But he was also selfish. He attacked a fellow grieving person. Yet his story is also inspiring. The same defiance that made him a royal pain made him a protector. John Candelaria was an all-star, a no-hit artist, a World Series champion. He was also a grieving father, a fierce antagonist, quiet hero. He was never simple. He was often difficult, but he was real. The Candyman's career, with all its peaks and valleys, was a mystery lived to its fullest. It left behind a story far richer than any box score could capture. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of baseball's most complicated figures, hit that like button and tell me in the comments, was John Candelaria a hero who stood up for what was right? Or was he a hothead who just happened to pick the right fights? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.